So, today I'm interviewing a man who is a cellist, an actor, an artist, and a bronze sculptor. A very creative individual. We will learn from him about his motivation, themes, and subjects of his music and art, and find out about his life. Let us start with your early life. Your parents were a physico-nuclear.
Yeah, that's a nuclear physicist.
Oh, that's right. And a philosopher. How did this affect your life?
Interesting. My father was worked for a think tank. It's called RAND Corporation, and he didn't build bombs, but he analyzed satellites. What is a satellite and what's a star, and underwater sound propagation. Like, is this a submarine that you're looking at, or is it a whale, or is it something, some debris of some sort? So he would analyze. It's all mathematics, and but there's always military applications, and they're looking at the future of the water supply of, let's say, California. Like, what are we going to go to war over Mexico in 30 years over the Colorado River? Because they believe there's possibilities that water can be more valuable than petroleum at some point in time. And my father was passionate about music, and I think I got that from him. And my mother, Betty Smith, still is a leader in the field of dreams. She's Carl Jung, Jung. Jung is the son of was the sidekick to Freud, but he went off in a different direction where they analyzed dreams. And my mother would lead people to Greece. She did this for 12 years, bringing large groups of people to Greece to consult the oracle at Delphi and Hippocrates. And so she would lead these seminars, and still does seminars here. So I think that was a huge effect on my life, because I was raised by dreams and bombs.
You were studying
Math.
to be a
mathematician.
Yeah.
Because everything is based on math. I mean, all the sciences, even music. There's
course.
so many mathematicians that are musicians. In fact, my parents would have these musical soirees where physicists and engineers and mathematicians would come from RAND Corporation or the university, UCLA, come over to our house and play Baroque music, music from the Renaissance. And I was a math major at UC Santa Barbara, and it turned out that that's the one school of the UC system in the state of California that had a bachelor's of cello. So it actually had a degree program that's like a music conservatory. It was the one school that had this very big push in the performing arts. And the musicians I ran into, one fellow in particular, Jim Sitterly, who's still one of my best friends, would always run over to me and say, "My God, you got to play. We're playing for the Beach Boys. We're going to open for the Beach Boys. We're going to play a Brandenburg concerto. And we're going to open this great concert." And after a few of those experiences playing with this band that we called Little Emo, I gave up on mathematics and became a cello major and got my bachelor of cello performance, and then later went to study in New York with the teacher Bernard Greenhouse of the Beaux-Arts Trio, and he was like the finest cellist in the world at the time, and in fact he recently died like 5 years ago, and his cello sold for $5 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
After New York, you came to Hollywood, and you became an actor for Neil Diamond in his movie The Jazz Singer, right?
Yeah.
How come?
My first gig in LA was really cool. they shot us as studio musicians in the studio, and with the pan shots, and we'd play, and Neil would come in, and Desi Arnaz. We couldn't figure out either. Was she his girlfriend, a wife, or sister? And Sir Laurence Olivier was also in the movie.
Wow.
And it turned out they were ad-libbing their parts. So after about 2 weeks of shooting, I was making more money than God. They stopped it. The studio came in and said, stop. You musicians, take a break. Take 10, 50, 100, take a week, a month. Take a month break, and then empty your calendar after this month. Because we're going to find a new director, and we're going to write this script. Because there was no script. They fired the director, and they made a great movie, The Jazz Singer.
Yeah.
And I bought a Porsche. Just in that break, they paid us that 1 month salary. So
Crazy.
yeah, my first gig, I bought a Porsche.
Wow.
It was pretty fun.
And then you work with my favorite actor, like
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins in Red Dragon, right?
Oh yeah.
How come?
That was very fun. It was-
Hannibal Lecter, right?
Yeah. It was the one tough part is it was like a 4 a.m. phone call to get there to the theater, because you can't have long hair. I always have long hair, right? Mm-hmm. So they had to chop your hair, and every woman had to have a big bouffant hairstyle from the 60s, or I think, probably the 60s, because Red Dragon is a prelude to the other Red Dragons. Yeah. So they had to give it this time period look. So luckily I was the principal cellist, and I had this big solo, and it was a big orchestra. I don't know if it was supposed to be in Detroit or Baltimore or Symphony or something, but Hannibal Lecter, Mr. Hopkins, is sitting like in the third row, and he's swooning. He's listening to the great cello solo, of course, and the flute player. So the camera catches a close up of the flute, plays a note, and and Anthony does a double take. It's like he ruined the cello solo, so he goes back to listening to the music, and more big cello, right? More big cello. All right, the director says, stop. And he points right at me. Are you a real cellist? And I go, yes. Because I was going like this. And he goes, why are you moving like that? And I said, well, it's my solo, and that's how I play it. Let me play it for you. Or, no, stop, just go ahead and do it. So we go back to recording. So he yelled at me. He was kind of, I better not say anything about this. Probably should. But the whole day was really stressful for him, because it's a huge money day. This is the opening shot probably of the movie, and he's spending, a third of his budget on one day, or something. Probably not, but that's the way I try to understand it. Anyway, so then it goes back to Anthony. There he's playing. I'm playing this thing, and he's going like this. The flute player makes another mistake, and he looks at the name of the flute player. That's the first guy that he kills and eats.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
My cello playing caused the death of hundreds of people, mass murder, because of the power of my solo.
Wow,
that's the way I like to look at it.
Yeah, no, it's nice. So in the 80s, you were a studio musician and working with the most busy and famous string section.
Yeah.
The C-sharp strings, and so you record with everyone. Barry Manilow, Barbara Streisand, Melissa Manchester, Earth, Wind and Fire, even with Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, those were great days. In the '80s, especially the early '80s, there was no samples. There was no computer samples of string sections, and on the Neil Diamond gig, Sid Sharp was maybe not the contractor, but he was the leader. Mm-hmm. That's important. It's not like you're the first violinist. Anybody can be the leader, but he's the one who chooses the orchestra. So he puts out the call. He pays you, works with a payroll company. So that's a leader. And he probably gets a double scale or something like that. So on a movie date, we became great friends. Seeing each other every day for months, a couple of months. And he was busy. He's an older man. He, Motown, we would do back-to-back. Little Richard, we would do the Pointer Sisters. In one day, we would do like 3 sessions. And these were called sweetening. So the string players, like disco, like that's more than sweetening. Sweetening sometimes is just a long, beautiful note, pads, but a lot of times it's got hooks and zingers, coming in, coming out, and sort of a rhythmic elements. So those were called sweetening sessions, and he was the most busy leader, contractor, string section of all time, as far as I can tell.
Wow.
Maybe in the 30s and 40s when the industry first started, and there was the NBC orchestra. Each studio had their own orchestra. Anyway, it was a great time, and it was really wonderful to be tied up with him. Like maybe 500, maybe 1,000 records, I played on. It was just insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that you have played many weddings, like Paul Abdul, Angelica Houston, right?
Angelica Houston, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. And John O'Hurley?
John O'Hurley, good buddy,
good
friend of mine. John played Jay Peterman on Seinfeld, And there we go. I was working for the Sultan, and I was up to my knees in slime. He does a good comedy bit, but he's also a pianist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I have 3 albums with John, and we've done some really wonderful, fun performances. Usually big corporate events, and golf tournaments and things like that. So it's been fun to work with him over the years. But the most fun wedding I've done is Liz Taylor.
Okay.
Actually, there's an article in the National Enquirer, and I think they called it The Wedding from Hell. But this is a really strange one. Sometimes I think I got 4 phone calls from Liz Taylor's people saying, will you come and play for the ceremony? Will you come to Disneyland? She's a spokesperson for Disneyland or something. Will you come and play for her there? Will you come and play at this shower that she's... All free gigs. Because she's a celebrity, the expectation is you can use this in your...
promotion or
something.
something.
Yeah, it's promotion.
Wow.
It doesn't... A musician...
it's your job, right?
Yeah, and it's not like... it never made very much sense. Because it's easy for me to say, I played for Michael Jackson. It's like, even if I didn't play for him, who cares? As far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk to drummers who have played for Michael Jackson or the bass player, and it's like, yeah, it's a for shit gig. It paid $250 a week. It cost more than that. It cost me to go on tour. You'll hear that from a lot of musicians. If they're the side guy, not the leader of the band, but they're working in the rhythm section or something, they can often lose money on a fly-out gig or go to Asia it's some of that. Sometimes if you work with like with Neil Diamond, I knew the percussion player, and the guy is amazing. If you don't tour for 2 years, Neil pays you every week, pays you for 2 years. Every time he does an album, each guy in the band gets a piece of a song, that they arrange, that they
royalties,
royalties and all like that. So there's some people in the industry that are just magnificent when it comes to other players. But I hate dishing on people, but it was just, that's how it was with Michael Jackson. It's how it wasn't, that we got called to do the wedding finally for Liz Taylor when she married that carpenter guy. And we showed up at 6 a.m. and at a restaurant over in the valley, and they drove us up in a bus, and it was the gig from hell. There was no food, there was no water. They stuck us in a stainless steel room like this, and it was all these apparatuses. So the floor was steel, the walls, the ceiling, and hoses, and steel tables. An enema room. Enema? Espanol?
No, I don't know.
Don't know.
Anima room?
Enema. Oh, it's where you evacuate with water. No, I don't even want to explain it. Anyway.
Okay, if it's still, the sound is
it's not
bad, right?
It's not for music. Okay, you see one of my sculptures here?
Yeah.
An enema is placed in the rectum. A hose, water hose.
Yeah.
And it cleans.
Ah, yeah, I know what you mean.
What's that say? What do you say in Espanol?
Lavativa.
A lavativa?
Yeah, it's when you put...
A hose?
What's a hose?
A pipe? A tube?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And go like...
Yeah.
And then all goes out?
Yeah.
Yeah, lavativa, yeah.
You were
Sorry.
About this.
Yeah, sorry.
I can't believe it. But that's... Anyway. They put us in there. But I had talked to a friend in the magazine called National Enquirer. And he came to me and said, take this camera, a Minex camera. It has one little tiny spring in it. But if you put it... you type it under your scrotum or whatever, they won't touch it. They won't feel it. So they can run their hands over your body, security, and they won't find it. And
you did it?
Well, yeah, I had it there because I had practiced with the bow to play the cello and click the camera, right? So when I played, you realize Liz Taylor's wedding, you cannot photograph it.
Mm-hmm.
There's police.
Of course, yeah.
There's Israeli Secret Service. They have security, massive security. They have giant balloons on chains up in the sky to keep the helicopters away. So no photos. Because the photo person who's doing the photos, they go to charity or something.
Yeah.
Somebody's making money. I don't quite know how that all works. But I was going to make photos with the
Minimax, yeah.
Minimax?
Yeah.
And I was so good. But so what happened was I show up and they radiate my case with a machine, radiation, across my cello. So any film, dead, right? Expose the film, radiate the case, and then they frisk my body. And they speak Yiddish. They were Israeli. Right? Israeli Secret Service.
Yeah, like, how do you call it? Yeah.
Yiddish? Yeah. So they put us in the room, right? And the bathroom but no door, right? So I can't open my pants and rip out the camera, right? But I'm always trying to reach to grab the camera, but I have an Israeli who's this tall, and he's looking at me the whole time. He's my Secret Service just for me.
Yeah, wow.
Just for me. So everywhere I go, he goes.
Even to the bathroom.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can never pick up the camera. So we go to play the wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing, and a woman comes up, and someone says, we want you to do Ave Maria. Can you accompany her? The song's coming up right now. And I said, sure, Ave Maria. And I asked, so you sing Ave Maria? Do you know it? No, I don't know it. How about Besame Mucho? So she knew the da 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 da. So she sang Ave Ave. She sang Besame Ave Maria to Besame Mucho.
Wow.
Just all she sang were the words Ave Maria throughout the whole song.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, but the fun part was around us are helicopters and planes, all trying to get the photos. We're under a big tree, and it's Nancy Reagan. It's who had the talk show? Merv Griffin, you know, and he's like googling the band, you know. He's cracked up, and so what happened was, a parasailer, like this, comes in with a camera on his head, and he comes swooping down. And I see him, he's coming right for me, and he's sweeping towards her, and I push her. She whacks at me like I'm making a squeeze her bottom. Yeah. And she whacks at me, and the guy tumbles down over her, and the Israelis grab him and haul him off.
And took the camera.
It's like a cartoon, you know, there's pieces flying this way, and his shoe goes flying. They're just piling on him to get his camera and stop him, and his parachute. And
wow. The weather of hell.
Yeah.
I heard you play for presidents, right? Like Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter, and no, Tony Blair.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan.
Luckily I've played many places, like in Germany, you know, and I've played at the Natural History Museum, and that was like a huge event for world leaders. But I did one up in Monterey at the golf course, at the country club there, and it was who's the guy that owns the newspapers?
Murdoch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch. Used to do a lot of gigs for him, for Fox Television and stuff. So he was the big sponsor for this, and this was like global awareness. And Clinton and Tony Blair, and Jimmy Carter. So the whole crowd was there. Schwarzenegger, the crowd was there. But so I parked my big black van, and I think they had a PA set up for me. I don't think I had to set up my own sound. But it's out there on the golf course, and you see the ocean. Mm-hmm. You know, we're on a cliff overlooking the sea, and security is, you see them with binoculars. They're looking for Al-Qaeda or whatever they're looking for. And I walk in, and with my cello, and I'm going up towards the grass, and a couple of agents just come up to me really quick and go, "Don't take another step."
Why?
Well, my electric cello is like 40 inches long, and a guitar case is 32 inches or something. And so the only thing my cello really fits in is my custom steel anvil case, which is heavy and difficult to carry, or I can put it in a shotgun case. So they saw the shotgun case, you know, sort of camo green with leather on the tip and the base, and they said, "You cannot possibly think you're going to step on this grassy knoll with that with whatever you got in there, and we know you're the musician. You know, we see your past. You know, we know who you are. So let's go back to your van, put the case away, and just bring your cello so we all see. Because there's everybody who's looking at you right now. Wow. There's all these binoculars watching. So I warmed up. I'm warming up, and I feel like, oh, this is really cool. I got my new white suit.
No audience?
No
audience.
We're
warming up.
Yeah, warming up. Yeah, doing a sound check. And there's one fellow sitting, with his legs crossed, like this. And he's got big glasses, and he's like this. And he's like in the first row where some of the seats are. And so I'm playing. I know I got only one person in the audience. And then he lifts his head up, and it's the lead guy from U2.
Bono?
Bono. That's right. Yeah, it was pretty fun. So he's like, that's pretty cool, man.
Wow.
Cello, huh? Yeah. Because I always like it when people who can't imagine that it's a cello.
You have many bronze sculptures. Why you sculpt with no arms? I mean, you can see here.
Oh, that's kind of.
I'm sorry. And why the violin reference for the head?
Yeah. I used to sculpt everything with heads and faces, and the arms too. I used to do arms, but something about the classical. When you look back into time, we can make our heroes easily. The great Romans, the Alexander the Great. It becomes a myth, and there's a huge power in a myth. I think I got this obviously from my mother, the Jungian philosopher, indirectly. But myths are everything. Symbols are everything. The symbol of a cello scroll, the symbol of that peg box with those strings. You talk about the strings of your heart. When there's ever an emotional thing in a movie, in a song, you have strings. I remember all through the 80s, we were sweetening, making music, making songs feel it. When you're in the womb, I don't know in Espanol, the womb of your mother, when you're a baby, bambino, inside your mom, she listened to a soap opera, television, right? And when it gets romantic, the cellos play. So even as a pre-born child, you understand music, you understand emotion. So music is that language of emotion. So when I put a scroll head, then that to me is emotion. And then when I do like a heroic body, physique, then that is sort of powerful, or that's passion. Anyway, it seems to make it powerful for me. And I love the idea of symbols. Obviously, this painting is, I kind of wanted it to be gladiators, or gladiatrix, female gladiators. I thought on a wall in Pompeii, they'd have posters. This is the greatest gladiator of all, and she is like an Amazon, and she has a great horse. And so I and part of it is when I perform less in theaters and more in public situations, like fairs and different events and corporate events, and somehow the power of it. I want my music to be heroic. I want people to instantly see what I feel. So that's why I wear the costumes that are so I want them to be heroic. And how do I do that? How do I look heroic? I'm just a guy,
with your music, with your costumes, with
that. It's all together. So the armor, the military, the the drama of the music. And so recently, I don't know if you follow my music. It used to be I would do a pop song and very much like the pop song. But now I find that I don't really need percussion, and I just love the strings because that's kind of more where my roots are. So I find a comfortable space and I perform a lot, a couple times a week at least. And so I'm thinking that's kind of why my music takes that direction. I want to speak the language that the world knows. Maybe not Bach. I mean, we know who Bach is, or Mozart, but we know Rihanna and 50 Cent, and we know Timberlake. So I play that a lot on my cello. So.
But you made them yours, right?
Yeah.
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 So as you say, you perform worldwide with your electric cello, and I don't know if I'm right, but sometimes I can hear some brushes, pinceladas, like little
Flourish. We might say flourish. Or brush. Brushes is okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but some
Arabic.
yeah, influence. I don't know why, and don't ask me why. But maybe if I ask you,
Yeah.
you can tell me.
Well,
Maybe because your mom, Greece, I don't know. It's not Arabic, obviously, but
I love this. That's interesting that you say that. It's not like I intentionally do that, but if there's a big orchestra pad and there's a voice above that goes, ah, that can be marvelously cool. And pretty much, I'm playing kind of an emotional color over my orchestra. And sometimes if the orchestra is long and smooth, it needs more.
yeah, the drawing, right?
Yeah, it's like in the Renaissance, you would make a simple da-di-da, a Morton or a trill, da-da, but I make these huge flourishes that perhaps do sound Arabic, because I'm playing so long. My music is so expansive that flourishes like that are really fun to play.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm correct, but because I'm from Spain,
Yeah.
and we have a huge influence in South Spain from Arabic music, flamenco, some Arabic, and also the architecture. And say Granada, we got the Alhambra, that is all Arabic, and think. I don't know, and I saw because I didn't know you, but I look at your pictures, your music before I came here, and I saw pictures in Malta that kind of.
All right.
You see, and that reminds me to the streets of Granada, or and this with your music maybe is why I become with the Arabic influence.
Yeah.
And maybe it is not, but I think music is universal, and as you said, is a state of mind and a state of mind.
No, wait. But let me make sure. I mean, often I'll play at an event of some sort, or even a concert or something, and people will come up and go, a Russian will come and say, "So you play Russian music?"
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then a woman next to him will go, no, 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 this is Spanish music.
Yeah, yeah.
And I go, yeah. And then another person comes. Because it's universal, there's no language, then people can interpret. I think all musicians, I've played for a gazillion years cello. So I think at a certain point, your music becomes more influenced by the life you've led, the places you've been, the things you've heard, and it evolves just on its own. That's sort of undirectional.
Yeah.
And it's the audience that you play for that somehow makes it happen. Like, I can't play in a vacuum. I mean, I could practice and stuff like that, but when I play for people, it takes it beyond me playing my cello. They're playing it because their expectation, their emotions, their dreams make this happen for me and makes it happen for them. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
Do you sort of...
Yeah. I want to say over this, on the top of you just said, that when a Russian goes to you and say, "Hi, you play Russian," it's because you reach his heart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
makes sense. Yeah.